All right, today we're going to talk about Edgar Cayce because now these predictions, of course, with what's happening on the planet Earth's cataclysmic events such as volcanoes and earthquakes, is accelerating. We did have the solar flares, nothing major happened there, but things are happening right now and building. And the next 6 months are crucial. I'm going to explain why. If you saw my last video on Chris Bledsoe, the next 6 months, that's going to take us into this supposed new era that is going to reveal a lot of things that are going to be shocking. It's happening right now. Let's talk about what you can do in these next 6 months to prepare for all of this, what it means, and why we're saying 6 months right now, according to Edgar Cayce's predictions. Let's go. Welcome to Landria, Onkka on YouTube. We're going to talk about Edgar Cayce today. We're going to talk about 2026, a pivotal critical year, and why the next 6 months are critical for humanity. Not because there was a date named. Neither Chris Bledsoe could predict that. Neither did Edgar Cayce ever. We're going by events, and I'm going to talk to you about what events are happening right now that are indicating that we are in the middle of it, and it will accelerate. So there's a man who died in 1945 who described the internet before it existed, who predicted the rise of China as a global power, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, did you know that? And the fall of the Soviet Union. His name was Edgar Cayce, and buried inside 14,000 transcribed readings he gave during his lifetime are specific references to a window of time, a window that, according to those readings, opens right now. So who was Edgar Cayce? Just briefly, I'll tell you, because this is somebody we need to pay attention to. Edgar Cayce was born in 1877 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. He was a Sunday school teacher, a simple man by most accounts. He was actually a religious man. And that's important because the things that he predicted were not the things he believed as a human being. But beginning in his early 20s, Cayce discovered that he could enter into a self-induced trance state. And from that trance, he would speak. He diagnosed illnesses. He described past lives, which he didn't believe in as Edgar Cayce the person. He outlined the fate of civilizations. So much we can explore with him. His followers called him the sleeping prophet. His detractors called him a fraud, even though he healed hundreds of people. But here's what's hard to dismiss. A 1910 study by Dr. Wesley Ketchum, a Harvard-trained physician, concluded that Cayce's medical readings were medically accurate in cases where conventional doctors had failed. The Association for Research and Enlightenment, founded in Virginia Beach, still holds over 14,000 of his documented readings. You can't make that up. And some of what he said decades ago lines up with what we are living through right now. So let's talk about the 2026 window happening right now. Cayce's prophetic readings didn't give us a calendar. He didn't say June 2026, October 2026. He didn't say any of that. That's not how he worked. But researchers who've spent decades cross-referencing his readings have identified a reoccurring theme, a period of accelerated transformation that he described as arriving in the mid-2020s. And he spoke of what he calls the changes: geological, political, and spiritual, not as punishment, as correction, or reset. Reset can be very uncomfortable. Are you feeling that right now? Here are 3 specific areas he flagged, and I'm going to reference some actual events happening right now. He repeatedly described increased seismic and volcanic activity, particularly around the Pacific Rim, what we now call the Ring of Fire, and along the coasts of North America. As of today, June 30th, I should say, as of yesterday, June 30th, there was an earthquake in Ganzi, China at 7:44 p.m. There was an earthquake today in Kuji, Japan. There was an earthquake yesterday in Guasave, Mexico. There was an earthquake in Kuji, Japan, June 27th. Yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in Afghanistan, Anchorage, Alaska, another one in Alaska, several in Japan, one in the Philippines, and June 25th, one in Japan. Now let's talk about volcanic eruptions. If you didn't see it, there's a big one spewing in Hawaii and also Mount Etna in Sicily. They are becoming active. Now we have some seismic activity happening that is threatening the west coast of the United States. This is real, and it looks like we're getting closer to some very big events. We have fault lines. It's inevitable. This is going to happen. Edgar Cayce also talked about rising land in the Atlantic near what he called Bimini, something that actually did occur in 1968 with the discovery of the Bimini Road. A lot of discoveries, and we've heard about the Sphinx, the pyramids, all kinds of secrets, and new discoveries of a second Sphinx and other pyramids below the existing ones. These are going to be discoveries revealed in the next couple of years. He also described more dramatic shifts, portions of Japan going into the sea. Now, I just shared with you the earthquakes, and I was naming Japan. It is very possible that it's leading up to something much bigger. The Great Lakes draining south and the eastern seaboard of the U.S. facing significant flooding. We're already seeing that. That was a huge thing going on the last few years. Remember, North Carolina, places you didn't expect that were the East Coast, all the way up to New York, has been happening in the last few years and increasing. Are we there yet? Not entirely, but global seismic activity has been measurably increasing, and ocean temperatures are at record highs. It is inevitable. And we're going to talk about how we actually participate in how that plays out. The shift in global power is the next thing we talked about. Cayce in the 1930s said this, and I want you to really sit with it. China will one day be the cradle of Christianity as applied to the lives of men. I want to share something with you. I've met quite a few people from China recently speaking Christianity unlike any time I've ever heard. He didn't predict military dominance, by the way. He predicted a spiritual and cultural shift. So don't freak out about that prediction. One where the East would come to lead, not through conquest, but through transformation. That's a good thing, right? There's always another way over war. And I'm seeing a big transformation of the Chinese going into Christianity. That's a huge movement. It's happening now. He also spoke of Russia not as the enemy of the world, but ultimately as the hope of the world. Now, don't start taking sides here because that's not the oneness of love and light. We are all one. So if there's a leader here that's going to help change the frequency of this planet, we got to go with it, not through communism, but through a return to spiritual consciousness. Why? When we go to the depths of the basement, the dark space that nobody wants to live in, what do? We have nowhere else to go but up. And many of these countries who've lived in not the greatest circumstances are finding that spiritual space, right? The United States is also doing that in a different kind of way. But whether you believe that or not, the geopolitical realignment happening right now is 2026. It's undeniable. All right. And now we're looking at all the things. We had massive solar ejections happening in the past couple years. Those are actually subsiding. Nothing major happened. I believe, and according to Edgar Cayce, that the spiritual resonance of the planet lessened some of these cataclysmic events, right? He specifically spoke of our connection to planet Earth. We are one, and we were operating under one vibrational creation, and you and I affected. Never forget that. So now we're going to talk about individual awakening and how it affects all of this. The next 6 months, so crucial. Get ready. We don't know what's going to happen with Chris Bledsoe. Is the Golden Lady going to come through on some level? We don't know. We can't wait for it. We have to create it. This is one of the most important things that people miss. Cayce wasn't primarily a doom prophet. The vast majority of his readings were about individual souls, their purpose, their responsibility. He said the earth changes weren't inevitable. They could be softened or accelerated by the collective consciousness of humanity, all right? So we've seen war going on now. We've seen other things happening. We're seeing people arguing over disclosure, and now all of a sudden these things are erupting again. We can just as easily lessen them. Today's events are yesterday's news, right? Today's events. What we're experiencing now is a product of everything that we have done up to this point. So we have to go into a space right now that's going to create the news for the future. So if you're experiencing something really bad right now, it's because of the actions, the thoughts, and the beliefs that led up to today. So don't look at that as how things are. Look at it as what you can change. What you think and believe right now, we can change. California doesn't have to drop off in the ocean. Is it inevitable? Well, at some point, probably there's a fault line. We can lessen everything that's happening right now. We're going to get to see just how spiritually aligned we are. He said the earth changes weren't inevitable. I want to repeat that. They could be softened or accelerated by the collective consciousness of humanity. All right, take that in. He said, and this is key, the application of spiritual principles in daily life is the only salvation. It's not about looking at everything out here. Everything's a distraction. Everything is meant to scatter our attention. What we eat, what we do, who's doing what, disclosure, all of that disclosure, total distraction, all of it. There's one thing we must focus on, and it is taking this internal power that has always been there. Jewels are in your pocket. You have to reach in and pull them out. Once you do that, you have access to things you never imagined. So why are the next 6 months specifically important? Why are researchers pointing to right now, mid-2026, as a critical window? 3 reasons. Number 1, several Cayce researchers, including those at the ARE, have noted that cyclical patterns in his readings point to a convergence period beginning around 2025 and intensifying through the end of 2026. Think of it as overlapping waves, geological, societal, and spiritual, hitting a crest simultaneously. Second, events Cayce described as precursors to the major changes. Increased solar activity, economic instability. It's going to really ramp up, by the way. So the less you are attached to those systems, the less it's going to affect you, and those systems no longer going to work, and you're not going to be controlled by them. Unusual weather patterns, political fragmentation have been checked off one by one over the last 3 years. They are at a peak right now and will increase. Detach from the worlds that do not serve us, the media, the consumption of anything that's plastic, toxic, harms animals or the planet, and, I'm sorry, but the financial system. Be careful with that. I have been detaching from it. I want you to take a good look, because if things go into a total collapse, how will it affect you? You don't want to suffer and struggle because you are tied to the old world. Third, Cayce himself described the timing not as the end of something, but as a threshold, a moment where the paths split. The Hopi spoke of this. Everyone's speaking of this, where choices made by individuals and societies determine which version of the next 50 years humanity walks into. That's not a death sentence. It's a decision point. Here we go. Free will. Even other beings cannot interfere with free will. They can influence, they can oversee, all kinds of things can happen, including the government, anybody. No one has say over your free will. You personally get to choose what you believe, what you do, and your actions, right? Your actions, your beliefs are everything, right? They're driving your actions. Well, what did Cayce say to do? If you've made it this far, you're probably wondering, okay, so what do we actually do with this? All right. Cayce was remarkably practical about this. His readings consistently return to the same themes. 1, know your purpose. Cayce believed every soul incarnates with a specific mission. Don't be searching and say, what is it? What is it? You're here. You're here. That's it. The question isn't, will the world change? It's, who will you be when it does? Who will you be, right? If you're too attached to anything else, that world will collapse. You won't know who you are. Who are you right now? It is time to go into that. And it is powerful and beautiful and loving. Everything else is the illusion. Everything else is the story. If you're struggling, suffering, naming things, I'm this, I'm that, you're still attached to an identity that isn't really you. And you can become anything you want right now. And it's perfect. 2, community matters more than preparation. He didn't tell people to build bunkers. He told them to build relationships, to find their tribe, to anchor themselves in something beyond material security. Hey guys, I have a private membership where you're safe to speak about whatever you want. That's why it's a membership. It's not excluding anybody. Everyone's welcome. But I don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there violating and coming in and saying stuff. I want you to know you have a safe space. Start creating those where you can speak freely about these things in a positive way. Make sure it's very positive. Make sure you're not taking sides or separating your group from others because you are saying we are right and they are wrong. That's still basement, low frequency thinking. The third thing, your inner life determines your outer experiences. Tell me what your life's about. I'll tell you what you're thinking and believing. This one's philosophical, but it's central to everything Cayce taught. The external world is, in some meaningful sense, a reflection of the eternal one. Mind is the builder, he said. The mind, not the brain. The way through turbulence isn't to fight it, it's to become coherent inside of it. So struggles, challenges, okay, we observe them now. They no longer control us because we control the thoughts and the beliefs and the stories. It's powerful. All right, so let's talk about the final conclusion of this. Edgar Cayce, he wasn't a perfect man. He actually didn't believe in reincarnation, yet he, under trance state, said, yes, we've been everything, all things beyond human. And I think that's beautiful because we are of one source that explores everything. We're just energy fields. If you can go into that space and let go of the identity with this, of what's right and wrong and who and my name, I don't even know what I am. I don't know what I am because I'm all things. I'm everything. I'm you. We are everything. We are not the person you. You're the energy field that goes and flows through everything. You don't have to name it. There are no names in the ultimate spaces, highest spaces of, well, just can't even say the universe beyond. So some of his predictions didn't come true. Why? Because there is no prediction that is in stone. I want you to remember that. So when you're waiting for somebody to tell you a prediction, you go, oh, it didn't happen. Good. If it was a bad one, we changed it. And he said that. He said, you can change this. And some of these things may still come true because there are no actual timelines in true reality. He was wrong about some dates. And a few of his readings touched on things that are genuinely controversial, right? Again, there is no reality in stone and there is no one truth. All things are true. Everything is. And so when you accept that, you know that if I believe it, it's true, I can create it. But the sheer volume of accurate foresight, documented, verified, cross-reference, makes dismissing him entirely a choice rooted in comfort, not evidence. We are in the window he described. The question was never if the world would change. The question has always been, what will you do with the time you have? We are coming in, we're talking months here. Yeah, no such thing as time, but you and I live it so that we can compare, we can learn, we can say, okay, yes, I did this, and now I'm going to do this, and I can look back at this. All right, so we have a short period of time when things will be revealed, and your world is going to split apart in a million pieces. And you don't want to be disappointed. You want to be open to these things because it's beyond human comprehension. If this video made you think, share it with someone who's paying attention. Stay away from the news, stay away from disclosure with the government. I love certain people in the news who talked about other beings, and now they have been focused completely on the government disclosure, and I've shut it down because I don't care what an institution tells me that has never told the truth, that has other intentions. Chris Bledsoe, my friend, be cautious. You are here to serve the people, the one, the community, not secrets of specific institutions who have never used that power for anything positive. I'm not saying that's across the board for everybody. We have light workers everywhere. I don't like to name people, but there are people of higher frequencies within all of these places doing their work. This is going to come out more and more and more. The disclosure will be the truths beyond those secrets, and that lies within you. You don't have to know all of these things. You have to know this is the change maker of everything that's going on out there. All right, so the volcanoes, those earthquakes of Japan, we're going to be watching all of that. You can send your light and love every single day, and it affects everything and everyone. Connect to nature, make best choices. Go down in my description. I have everything down there with companies, businesses, they're all small businesses that really care about animals, our planet, no toxins, and nothing comes in plastic. Stop drinking stuff out of plastic. Stop buying plastic. I give you options and discounts. It's actually cheaper. Let's live in that world that respects everything and everyone. Go into community and love, give, share. Drop all of the ideas of what things are, what's true, who's what. You are that. I am that. I am. 6 months, we're going to see major changes. That's to the end of 2026. And so if you want to go deeper, the next video covers Cayce's specific predictions about the United States and where he said things would stabilize. We're going to go into that. And if there are subjects you want me to cover, let me know. Why do I talk a lot about Cayce? Because he spoke of a critical time period that we're in right now. He spoke of how we control it. He spoke of our power. He spoke of unlimited things out there that we can tap into, and that power is within you. That's my message to you. There is no one thing. There's no one conspiracy. There's no one anything, because all of it exists. So if you believe it, it's true. What do you choose? What you choose right now is critical to everything that's going to happen from this moment forward. I hope you'll subscribe. Please share my videos. You are whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. If you would like to purchase my book, it was a download. It's the same space you can go into and get information, ask questions, shut down the chatter, the thoughts about how things work. I don't know the three most powerful words. You're whole. You are perfect. And you are loved beyond your imagination. There is nothing else. Just exploration and adventures. That's it. Don't name it. Just experience it, learn from it, and keep raising that frequency. Get yourself up to that penthouse. You don't have to live in pain or struggle ever again. I'll see you there. Namaste.